introductions. I'll let Ken kind of start off here. Give a little bit of introduction to kenfamilymn.org, and then we'll get into origin stories after introductions.
Okay. Ken Family MN is essentially a resource hub. We connect families with resources, and also we develop programs and initiatives that will essentially help families at no cost.
He has worked with me now on a few different projects. We did an Audi that you guys saw on the channel. We did this car that you see behind us, which is an '03 Honda Accord. And we're also working on a 2016 Tahoe that will be coming up in the next few weeks. What I do is I do a lot of automotive content. My business is Bad Wrench Automotive. Also, I do automotive work openly for other people. So I do work on cars, oil changes, brakes, tune-ups, 100K services. We get into diagnostics and figuring out what's wrong with the cars and getting them running like they should back to original specification. We also do some modification stuff. We do have a vehicle that will be coming up within the next month or so. You guys will get to see it. It's LS Goat. It's an '04 Pontiac GTO. So that car will be making an appearance. Just right now we're working on a bunch of other projects that we need to wrap up. But this is a little bit about what Bad Wrench Automotive is. I know for the people on YouTube side that I'm filming to, they already know what I do, but Ken is also filming on TikTok for himself. So giving a little origin story about me. Let's go into your origin story. What got you started? Why are we here today, and how did we get here?
So initially, it's the vehicle. With the rideshare program, we've done extreme amount of business, and I sat down with you, and I had this idea about the vehicles and the cars and how I wanted to go about it. After the initial purchase of the vehicle, we decided that we wanted to go with everything that needed to be done for extensive trips due to the usage and mileage that we will be putting on. So we need to go from basically zero to, the front all the way to the back, from the lights to the bumper to the air, the radio to, just everything, because essentially we're going to be putting families in this car and we need the transportation, the process to be reliable. So we couldn't skip anything.
Okay. And, what was the reason, or how did you get the idea to start this? Kind of what got you here in this process?
Okay, so with that process, it's just every time through life, I'm 37 at this point. So every time in life, I would have wanted a process like this. I would have wanted somebody at that point when I was running for a bus with my 4 or 5 month-year-old son, raising him by myself. I would have wanted somebody to be like, hey, if you're serious about wanting help, then I'll just help you. You don't have to fill out these paperworks. You don't have to go through this extensive process. We're not going to overly make this strenuous for you. We're essentially just going to help you. I would have loved that. It would have made everything so much easier, to know that I could make it to work and I didn't have to worry about what I was going to give my son to eat and what I was going to bring too, because obviously at this point I'm trying to figure it all out.
I bet you've seen these ads before, right? Where it's like this blue guy going left to right, getting -1, +2. Well, they look like a lot.
I was going to give my son to eat and what I was going to bring too, because obviously at this point I'm trying to figure it all out. So that's where the meal came from. It's like, okay, these 2 weeks are extreme for anyone that's fighting for a job position. So if we can provide them a single meal, help them get the kids to daycare, and remove the stress the stress factor from the job process, then maybe it will create a more stable work environment. Maybe it will allow the individuals to stay at the company. It cuts down expenses, so now there's more of a check when it does come. It's just all of those factors that I wish I would have had. So a lot of the programs that I do develop, it comes from life experience and just talking to families.
So basically, things you've just went through in your life, and you see a need where there's maybe a gap, especially with somebody just starting out fresh again. Maybe they went through a struggling divorce, or they went through the loss of a family member or something like that. They're having to start over, and you guys, through your life experience, you're now kind of trying to fill that gap with this process.
Well, with with acquiring resources is it's extreme. It's very hard to navigate. It's not a clear-cut system, and when you look it up, it's just very confusing on who's going to do what. And the process is organized like that because everything is grant-based. When everything is grant-based, there's somebody behind this company saying, hey, we will, we won't, or we're going to do this on the basis of this individual put these stipulations on us. So if you're calling us about anything other than that, then we have to turn you away. And I was versed in it. I had the Minnesota Department of Health and Ramsey County School District. They sent me to a conference out in Oakland for, it was about a week I was there. And they taught me the whole structure of grants, how companies are funded, the process to acquire them, the stipulations upon who you can and who you can't help. And, you know, I had a problem with it, per se. I had a problem with it, but I understood the world. So I still work with that process. That's the origin. We can get to that when you're ready for it. But I still work in the field of grants. But Kin Family MN is solely based off of a no currency bartering system.
So you guys are trying to basically streamline that process to where people can get the help they need without having to deal with a lot of the hoops until they can get that process done on their end.
If there's over hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars poured into grants yearly, I'd rather be a resource hub to access those for families that really need it and break down the confusion of the process than be built off of a foundation that says, hey, only way I can help you is for this. No, I can direct you to who can help you, though, if you call this number. I'm not just going to turn you away no matter where you're at or what family member it is or what's the process or how many people's in your family or where you're at. Because essentially we're not stationed to a county because we're not grant-based. So if you're 100 miles away from me, but you're in Minnesota or where we are, then I can essentially assist, and I will.
Now, would you say that like your life steps kind of showed you where the gaps were missing in this process? Like, is that kind of one of the big driving factors for you?
Excuse me. I was kind of I was a full-time worker. You know, I did sanitation. I worked in the slaughterhouse cleaning up after the kills. I make maybe $32, $36 an hour. With that process weekly, I accumulated enough money to start a landscaping company. Then I accumulated enough money to realize that I could buy, facilitate, and organize cars. So I invested into cars while still working. So it was the process of building so much and then watching it crumble, you know. And
would you care to get into that? Maybe share with the people kind of how those tough experiences kind of changed the reason you're doing what you're doing today.
Yeah. Well, initially, my older boy's mom, you know, I watched her pass in my arms, and that had, you know, affected me in certain ways and manners. And I kind of poured myself into work. So I worked extremely hard, and that's where the origin of the other companies came from. But with that process, you know, I wanted to build essentially for my son because he had lost something. So I wanted to try to replace it with items, you know, that can be a process during that time. Throughout the course, my younger son, Akram, he was, abandoned. He was left at my neighbor's when I was working. I came home, and at that point, maybe a week later, I got COVID. It attacked my kidneys, and it attacked my GI tract. I was in a hospital on 4 IVs, and I had 2 blood transfusions. I immediately left that and went back to work because I had to take care of my family, and I had these companies. I ended up getting into a car crash. My car spent, my car totaled, just rushing, trying to catch up. The car ended up totaling. At this point, I have my company's felon. I have my car crash. I have a child who, I'm a father, but there's a difference between a dad. Like I wasn't on a day-to-day basis with my child because I'm working 16 to 18 hours. I'm trying to build the existence. So the changing the Pampers and a lot of those aspects of things I didn't quite understand.